You're listening to the NVus Alien Podcast with your host, Heather Woodward, an award-winning psychic, supernatural author, and lover of all things true crime. On this show, we're going to deep dive into topics that don't usually see the light of day. The spooky, the weird, the macabre, the paranormal, and of course, aliens. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, and let's get on with the show.
You want answers, not motivational quotes pretending to be guidance. You want the truth that changes things. That's where I come in. I read energy like a detective. Your patterns, your blocks, the turning points you feel coming but can't name yet. I translate what the universe has already lined up for you. I'm Heather, psychic, coach, witch. 25 years of helping people stop the self-sabotage and step into their power. If you're ready to move, text me 25224194447. Real guidance, real clarity. Zero games. That's me, 25224194447. Let's pull the cards and see what happens next. Now put your tinfoil hat on. Curiosity engaged. Let's get into the podcast.
Hey everyone, this is the NVus Alien Podcast. I'm here with Stephanie again today, and we're going to be doing a part 2 of the Abbey podcast. The link for that will be in the show notes, so if you haven't listened to that, this may be a little bit confusing, but I think we're going to do a little bit of a synopsis and then move right into the second part. How you doing, Steph?
I'm good. It's talking about the Abbey is really bringing me back because that was 2021.
Oh my, are you kidding me? That long ago?
Yeah, I think we went 2021. And then part 2 that we're going to talk about today was 2022.
Has it really been that long?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay, the saga never ends with this.
Right?
Yeah. Because so you have your part, and we're going to talk about that. And then towards the end of this podcast, I'm going to tell you what happened last time I went, because something actually happened, and it's a little bit weird, and it ties into all of this. So yeah,
I forgot you went back.
it's a continuation. Yeah, I didn't say anything on purpose. And then I messaged you and then I deleted it because I'm like, nope, we're not going to do it. We're going to wait for it and see what happens. And something did happen. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And it actually ties into, it ties into a whole lot of other things. It ties into the first time, remember we went to the university and we saw the turtle?
Yes.
And was that the day that we went to the Abbey, or was that the day before or something? It was right in that
It was
time.
the day up because we just drove up for the day.
Okay, yeah. So it ties into that whole day, what happened just now. And it didn't happen to me. And that's what's interesting about it. Anyway, okay, let's get into yours first, though. Because it's a whole thing. Okay. Let's do a little bit of a recap. So in the first episode, we talked about going to the Abbey, having the experience with the monks, and doing the ritual. Correct?
Yes. Yes. We touched a little bit on that ritual and why we did it. We talked a little bit about the light language and some sort of past life karmic relationship that had come up through the light language. We didn't talk about that too much, so I don't know if we want to expand more on that story or just leave it.
I think we need to expand on it a little bit because re-editing it and going back, I was like, there's a lot that we left out, and there was a lot that was triggered afterward. We did the ritual, and I actually found the ritual, and I'm going to post the ritual on my blog and put it in the show notes. So if you actually want the ritual, you can have it.
Review from the first podcast. We had a group that we were working with and exploring a lot of different, psychic modalities. Is that which would you call it?
Yeah, I would call it psychic modalities, or we were just channeling a lot, doing different ways of channeling.
We were exploring different ways of channeling to see who we could communicate with, see who could do what. And we were working with light language, actually writing it, not speaking it and painting it or anything like that. We were actually writing. And I had written pages of something. And I don't know why I was writing it. I just felt like I needed to do it. And Heather, luckily, can read my light language and started telling us this story that it was like a past life story of where I had been in this relationship with somebody. They had gone off to war or fighting or something, and they didn't return. So I thought they were dead. I got into another relationship with somebody more wealthy. And then this person came back. And it was traumatic for me to be in this other relationship, but still have this other person. And that energy never cleared. Now, whether you believe in past lives or not, I don't know if I do, but there is some sort of energetic connection or entanglement that happened between me and this person, or maybe it's genetic. I don't know. But there's something that happened where I was either missing a piece of me, or I couldn't let go of that connection, or they couldn't let go of that connection. And we were able to figure out who that person is in this current life through, it was weird, random synchronicities that happened that led us to that person through the scent of their cologne, through names and phenomena that weren't even related to him, really.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I don't know if I believe in past lives either. So it always gets really tricky when we start doing this stuff because it comes off as a story and it does have those details, but then is that just how our brain is able to process it in order to metabolize it or in order to move the energy or transmutate it? I don't know. This one was so specific though, and I don't remember all those details you just said because I probably told you and then forgot about it because that's what I do. But now that you're talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, there was some like deep emotions around it too. It wasn't just something small. I remember reading the language and being so emotional. Like it hit me really hard. So there's something to it. Again, I don't know what it is, but there was something to it.
right. And when just everything that happened after the ritual and after even what we talk about in part 2 that we recorded, or I recorded with another group member that was doing the light language with us, there was even more. So I'm like, okay, because of everything that's happening, there definitely was some sort of connection, whatever that was. This isn't just a story that was made up because there was like tangible results. So that's why I don't know what it is exactly, but there's definitely something.
Yeah, I agree with you. There has to be something there, and it's not that it's made up. And that's the thing. Like sometimes I wondered with the light language stuff and just some of the stuff we channeled, I was like, is this just all made up? Is this just something that's our way of dealing with trauma? But then like things happen. Like it manifests in reality. It's not anything that's made up. And I don't know. That's where the past life stuff kind of throws me off a little bit. I have a similar example where there's somebody in my life that I couldn't quite get over, and then I cut the connection. Then that person called because they had a health issue, and then I helped them with the health issue, and then all of a sudden, like it all lifted, and I was like, "Wait a minute, did all of this happen so that psychically I could help with a health issue to keep them on the planet?" Like, really? We could have done another way. Like, we could have done it another way. But it's just, I don't know. And then something lifted. It's like the energy lifted, the contract lifted, or whatever. Did you get that same sense of once you went through the whole process, something lifted?
Yes. And even the part 2 that we're going to release here, we talk about that and how there was a piece either that lifted or almost like a soul retrieval. Like there's a piece that came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, oh, I can let go of this now. This is the thing. This is why this connection had to stay there, even in stasis. There is some kind of contract or some kind of agreement that Yeah, it
Right.
there's like a whole process to it too, and it's weird too because I would not have been able to help with the health issue if all the other things had not happened. And that's really weird to me. So I want to get back to your thing and what else happened? Like what else did you get out of it?
What else did I get out of it?
Yeah.
We talk about that a little bit
Okay.
in the second part.
So should we go to the
Um,
second part now and we'll listen to that and then we'll do a recap at the end?
right. Yeah, because we can share that second part. Think that's probably a good segue. And then when that ends, then we can talk about what happened after.
Okay. So here's
Yeah.
the second part that's going to answer a lot of questions that we're asking right now. And then we're going to move on into another recap and then move forward with what's happened in the last couple years.
Circling back, like a year ago, you guys were at the Abbey, right?
Yeah, we went in May of 2021.
I remember there was some shenanigans going on. And then I remember at the Abbey, you guys did your ritual, which honestly, I still don't understand what y'all did, but that's the nature of the business, I think. And there was that dude that you were supposed to contact. Whatever happened with that?
I think it was maybe July or August. So we went to the Abbey in May, and then just a few days later discovered who this person was. I had tried talking to him online, just start a conversation, was not getting any information at all, could not figure anything out, still in the dark. I'm like, why the hell is this guy coming back? What does that have to do with anything? And so finally I was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. How about we just meet up, do lunch, and then maybe I was thinking I could be enough like in his energetic space, like at lunch, talking, that I could pick up on what was going on. Or maybe I could get clues because talking online wasn't working. So if we had like actual conversation where you had to carry on, we would get somewhere. So I came up, set a time. I was like, I'm gonna be there on this day. We can go to lunch, whatever. I'm not gonna be in town for very long. Let's get together. It's cool. So got there, message was like, hey, I'm going to lunch. This is where I'm going. And he ghosted me.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. So nothing. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. So I went to lunch, but it wasn't all bad. So I'm trying to figure out, like, why the hell am I here? Like, why is he not responding when we had talked about this? So I went and I had lunch and had some amazing jalapeno poppers. And actually, the place I went is supposedly haunted. And it is. And I talked to the ladies that are there. So it wasn't a whole loss. I was like, yeah, I'll just go here, and it's supposed to be haunted. So I'll pull out some cards and I'll talk. And I have to say, there's a lot of this tangenty, but in case you're wondering, the place I was in my hometown, they don't want to say that it's haunted. They want to sweep it under the rugs and pretend like it's not, but it is. And there's a bunch of women energy around. I've heard that it may have been a brothel at a time. I know it was an opera house above there. There's a lot of women hanging around that to mess with people.
Lots of leftover Shakti there.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, never heard anything. Finished my lunch, finished talking to the dead prostitutes. And I was like, what do I do now? Because I set time aside for this. I went by a place that I knew he might be, or at least knew where somebody was that could tell me more about how I could get in contact, because I wasn't getting anything when I tried to message. So I went there and I was like, hey, I'm looking for this person. We were supposed to meet up today. Can't get a hold of them. And they said his cell phone's turned off. So that's probably why you can't get in touch with him. And they didn't expect to see him anytime soon, because he seems to only come around when he needs favors. At that point, I was at a loss. They told me where he was and advised me not to go there because it's a drug house. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go there. It just, all of this information started coming out about this person who I knew from a long time ago, but really didn't know, and that I had been talking to, is maybe not the same person that he was before. And it was a little confusing, and I couldn't figure out why his energy, his spirit, whatever, this twin flame thing, whatever it was happening, like, why was he bothering us? And why were we
Right.
getting these messages? It didn't make sense because I was there trying to find answers, and the universe was like, nope, it's not going to happen.
Well, like the whole reason he came up, right, was because you're like, okay, I need to find this energy in my life. And then he comes up and it
was the light codes.
Oh, that's right, the light
codes,
codes.
dude.
And they're like, he keeps coming up, and it was like he was writing this love letter to you, and he was oddly enamored of you. Not that it's odd to be enamored of you. You're beautiful. But he was just like weird about it.
Right. So I'm like, okay, why is this coming through? What is it that we need to work on, or what do I need to resolve? Like, why are we coming back together? And I remember when we were talking at the time, we thought it had something, because we pulled all kinds of cards, something about like accelerating me to the next level, or he had a gift for me, or something that we needed as a group.
He was going to give you a boomstick. That's what it was. That was not innuendo.
But we didn't know.
Didn't he like carve wood or like something like that?
Yeah, at one point I think he did woodworking or something. Obviously not now. Really didn't know what to do at that point. And that's when I messaged you guys. I'm like, what the hell is happening? This is what's going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know why I'm here. I was at a really big loss. So I'm like, I came here expecting something, expecting answers. And then it was like, nope, we're not giving you anything at that point. I'm like, what the hell?
I remember us all being like, wait, so so you're supposed to be looking for this way to balance like divine masculine and feminine in your life. And they're like, this guy has answers and this guy's weird, but okay. So you go to see him and he ghosts you. So what are you supposed to do now? Like, why did they bring you to this place?
Exactly. So anyway, I ended up leaving like a note for him, just that I stopped by in case he happened to go by, even though nobody thought he was going to show up there. And I remember I got in the car and I got to like the main highway going through town. And if I went straight, then I would be leaving town and going back home. And as I set the stoplight, I looked down the road and I saw the steeple for the church in town.
Of course.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I want to go there. For whatever reason, I saw the steeple for the Catholic church and I'm like, I need to go there, which I grew up Catholic. I went to that church. So I went there and I pulled in and I still had no clue what was going on. I just sat in the parking lot, and my grandpa used to help take care of the lawn and put the sprinklers on and that kind of thing. And so I got out and I walked around in the little area. They have it's not really a fountain. I guess it's more like a bird bath kind of thing, but it has a statue. And I remember that from when I was little, but I just walked around and it was just trying to figure out what to do at that point. Because I was at a loss. I was like super emotional. I'm like, I have no idea what to do at this point. And I sat down in front of the statue of Mary that is at the church outside on a bench. I just sat there and we had been chatting this whole time. And I had just pulled up a card on my phone because I have a tarot card app. And it was I think is it the Judgment card? Oh no, I'm gonna have to look now real quick. Yeah, so I pulled a card and it was the Judgment card. And then this deck I have on my app It is somebody sitting in front of a statue of a priestess and has candles around it. And she's like sitting there giving an offering or waiting to receive information. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm here sitting in front of Mary. What do I do, Mary? Because I have nothing. Right. And I'm like at the brink of tears. And I just sat there and nothing came at all. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to go home. So I got up, turned around the little corner, and the priest was walking out of the church and saw me.
Like they do.
And he had to stop me. He was like, oh, hi, how are you? Are you interested in joining the church? I was like, I went to church here when I was little, and I'm just here trying to get out of it and inch away. And I was like, you know what? I want to light a candle. Can I go in and light a candle? And he was surprised by that. I'm surprised that the priest of a Catholic church was surprised that I wanted to go light a candle.
Isn't that kind of what they're there for?
They have the whole display of candles. It was a very confusing situation, but he took me in, and I don't know, then he was trying to explain to the lady that was there. I don't know if maybe she was cleaning the church or what she was doing, but he was trying to explain to her that I was there for a candle, and she couldn't figure it out. And yeah, it was way more complicated than it needed to be. But eventually I was able to walk around to the other side. And so I lit a candle, which is interesting because that's what we did in the first one. But anyway, so I'm sitting there and I lit my candle and I was so emotional. I had no clue what was going on. And I was just had my hands over the candle and I just started bawling tears and was crying. And it wasn't just about the situation, but that was really the first time I had been in that church since my grandpa had died. And I don't know, there was just a lot of memories from that and from my childhood. Just so much culminated in that space. And in that point, it was like, this wasn't about him at all. This was about an idea that I had or something I was looking for that I need to reclaim in myself.
All the rivers and the feminine and the blocking and the monks and the, yeah.
So it's like, it's all this, what I've been looking for, or whatever this person was in a past life that was coming through that I was channeling. Like whatever that was that I was attached to, or I was looking for, or I was wanting, wasn't really there in that person now. He was a completely different person.
Yeah.
And I had to, it was like an acknowledgement of, oh, that's not really him. That's not what that is.
I could see that. We have these karmic ties, but who you were in that, who you were, who I want you to be to me now, it's not who you are now. Like you're on a different path than I am now. It's that, yeah. I relate. I relate.
It was really letting go, like lighting the candle, putting the energy into that candle to let that idea go, or to let that energy go, so that I would be able to have that space in myself.
Yeah.
To have that for me. So then after that, I spent a little bit of time around town. I actually went out to the cemetery and saw my grandpa's grave, and then came home. And yeah, I never heard anything back from him. I guess I did. Later that day, I did get a message that he had stopped by the place I had gone. He messaged me. He was like, yeah, sorry, I was working. You knew I was in town for just a little bit, but whatever. But I haven't talked to him since. Don't really feel like it. What happened after that? I don't know. I guess since then, it's just been more of that reclamation of that masculine and feminine and going deeper into that. And we've had a few side tangents on that. But I really feel like the last year, or really the whole time that that's the story of the Abbey. Really, it was a reflection of that first ritual we did. So where the first ritual was calling in this person or this energy, which then was brought to me, and then I used almost the same type of ritual to release the part that wasn't necessary, I guess, to let go of, I guess, the idea of what it should look like, and to integrate, to let go of the parts that, or the ideas that I thought it was supposed to be, and allow the other parts to integrate within me. Have that divine marriage. That second part was recorded in 2022. So about a year, a little over a year after we had first gone to the Abbey. And it was not quite a year after I had made that trip. So there were several months that had passed since I made that second trip. But where that ends off, there was more to the story that happened in that following year. And obviously still, since Heather went back and has more to share there. So I don't remember when we first started discussing recording the second part. I'm guessing that we probably started discussing a follow-up a few weeks before we actually recorded, because that's usually how it works. And during that time when we were discussing the recording, this other person went through a traumatic car accident and was bedridden for close to 12 weeks. Now, I did not find out until it was made public on Facebook 6 weeks after the accident. He actually got online and said, "Hey, this happened. I want to let everybody know."
Okay, that makes sense.
So he was in an accident about the same time we decided to record the follow-up. And then a few weeks later, I found out about the accident. So that accident that had him bedridden for 12 weeks, in that time, he got sober. As far as I know, he is still sober. He moved back home while he was going through all of his healing, got a really great job teaching and instructing, and I think he's gone back to school for social work. So he has completely changed his life around from where he was when I went to meet him, or even when the light language and everything really started for us with working on it.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you think his transformation affected you energetically, even though he's the one that went through it? Do you think it affects your timeline?
Possibly. I never thought about it that way.
Let me phrase it in a way that makes more sense. Maybe.
Okay.
Because I know a bunch of stuff happened to you right after, like shortly
Right.
after. Do you think that because you guys were connected energetically, that he had to transform in order for you to get what you needed or wanted? Do you think there's a cause and effect happening here?
I think there is. Because when we did the first ritual, we created the path. We repaired the path. So then I reclaimed what I needed to reclaim. And I think in his process, that kind of freed up his energy as well. So then we were both able to move on that path that was cleared. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Because we always talk of it as you helped him, but do you think he helped you inadvertently?
None of this would have happened if I didn't have the light language.
Which is weird.
So right. So he initiated the whole process, and none of it would have happened without that part.
And do you think that he even knows that he did that? Or this is where it gets tricky because it might not even be him. It could be past life him that we don't even know, that's in another timeline somewhere that said, this is what we're going to do. You know what I mean? It
Right.
gets so quantum and tricky with this stuff.
Right. Because the place he was at when this all started was not a very good place. So I'm wondering if it was like a higher self intervention for
Yeah.
him. But in order for him to heal, I had to do my part too. So then we're like helping each other out.
But not realizing you're doing it. Yeah. Interesting. All right. So what else happened?
So around that same time, my husband had this idea that we needed to sell our house. Just out of nowhere, he just decided that we were going to sell it. And we had talked about it, couldn't really find any place that we liked. And I thought we were holding off. And then all of a sudden, I come home from a really hard day at work, and he said, I listed the house, which was a shock. But he is chaos, not in a bad way. That's just his energy, right? It's chaos, and he likes to disrupt things. So we put our house on the market, and it sold the next year. So in that time, it's okay. We're really not tethered to any place, so we can go wherever we want. So we were able to really envision the type of life that we wanted to have, and we could create that. And really synchronistically and really trying to follow my intuition as much as I could, because really where we ended up, neither one of us wanted to be. Like, neither one of us wanted to move to Kansas. But the house we found that checked almost all the boxes was in Kansas. And I had actually dreamed about sunflowers prior to us even finding this house. And I couldn't figure out why I was dreaming about sunflowers. And it was probably because we were supposed to go to Kansas.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You're confused about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you end up there? Is it just the house or?
Pretty much. We had made a list of what we were looking for. And so I started searching, and originally we thought we were going to Northwest Arkansas. And we couldn't find anything in that area. So I got desperate and just expanded my search and started clicking all of the houses that I liked that were similar to what we wanted. And then I sent him a list. I said, what do you want me to go look at? And he was like, I like this one in Kansas. I was like, really? I wasn't even going to go look at anything in Kansas. But I had come to visit you, and we went around and looked at some houses, and it was only like an hour out of the way. So I was like, okay, I'll go look at this house on the way. And it ended up being the one that we liked the most.
So what happened with this other person? I know he got into a car accident. Did you talk to him after that? Or what happened?
I did. I had posted, I think it was when you were writing your book, maybe. I had posted something about if anyone knew who owned the hospital in town, because it related to the story that you were writing about Gay Croft.
Yeah. Whoa.
So I
forgot
had
about
posted
that.
something about the hospital, and he had actually messaged about information about that. And then I had asked about the restaurant where I had gone and was talking to the ladies when he didn't show up. And we talked about that, and I asked him how everything was going, and he was almost to the point where he would be able to get up and walk. And that was the last time I talked to him. So other than that, I've just been following the story. If I see something, a status update or something on Facebook, but the majority of the time is very right-leaning political statements that he posts.
So it's like this thing that happened where you did the ritual, or we did the ritual, and then this we fixed the path, and then for some reason that turned into everybody completely shifting their life. This is like a full tower moment here. Both of you went in separate ways, but you went in separate ways where it's actually better. Like maybe he
Mhm.
needed to have an accident in order to get his life together. It's an interesting healing because it's like he literally had to break his body in order to heal. But for whatever reason, it affected you too because of where you ended up.
Yeah, that's a trend with me. If I do a lot of like, I'm in that ritual space and do some sort of releasing, then it seems like that shifts my relationship, like with my husband. Because the last time I did a lot of healing like that and did a lot of releasing, he also was like, we need to move. We need to buy a house. There's something that affects him too, and the energetics between us. Because then he shifts into this mode, oh, we can do better. There's that other piece to it too.
Yeah, it's almost like the whole field gets shifted. Whoever you're connected to gets shifted. But why do you think you were connected to this other person? Have you thought about it and figured it out? What was the reclaiming that you had to do?
In the second part, we talked about the divine masculine, but I think there was a healing of the divine masculine. And I know at the time when we were going through all this, that was a big conversation that we were having about respecting the masculine, being friends with the masculine. There's something to that, that in releasing or shifting that energy allowed everything else to click into place.
I just downsized some of my books. As I was going through my books, I remember looking at a section and I'm like, I bought all these all at the same time. And it was like the Horror Gods, Pan. During that time period, I was very much about like, how do we make friends with the masculine? How do we make friends with the wounded masculine? I don't know what the right word is. It's not healing it ourselves, but coming to some understanding of it, maybe? It was more like a feeling and a knowing, and that's why I'm having a hard time with the
Hmm.
word of it. I don't remember how I described it back then.
It's weird because we are out of that energy. So it's hard to verbalize what that was like now, because there was just some sort of shift. And I was, oh, yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah. It's hard to
Yeah.
describe. Yeah, exactly. We're not in it anymore, so it's harder to just I keep staring at my books case, hoping that, like, it'll trigger something. The only way I can describe it is if we are to be sovereign and we are to find or reclaim the pieces of ourselves, then we need to take a look at the masculine and the wounded masculine and be okay with it. Not accept it. How are we going to accept this in a way that helps us find ourselves? That sounds so
Mhm.
nebulous.
I feel like there was a little piece of desperation in there for
Yeah.
something, looking for something. And the trick is that there is nothing to look for. It's like you're trying to find that peace in that masculine aspect when it's not really there. It's something
Yeah.
internal that you have to acknowledge or call back. That sounds really cliche because everybody's always, oh, don't look outside yourself, look within. But there is something to that,
There is. And now that you're talking about it's so obvious.
right? But it's not something you can get to intellectually. There's like a grokking to it. It's something that you have to actually experience in your energy field.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I think there was a sense of and I know you want to talk about a little about twin flames along this line, but there is something about looking outward for something like I'm missing this piece and I don't have it and I'm very feminine, so it has to be in the masculine. That's what I'm missing because I want to stay in the feminine, so it has to be in the masculine. And it's like we're, I don't know, how do I say this? There's, especially in the spiritual world, it's, oh, you got to find your other half, or that's what you're missing. You're missing that other half. And so Of course, this goes into twin flames and stuff, but there is that desperation because if I find it, then I'm whole, and then when I'm whole, then I can up level or upgrade or do these things that seem so out of reach.
When we had gone to the Abbey, we had talked a lot about what that whole relationship meant and like why was he being called back into my awareness and what that was about. And I even said in the ritual, bring him to me. So I really did feel like there was this piece that he was bringing in, right? Even at the time, and we say in the second half, it was like, oh, he was supposed to bring something or give me something, but we didn't know what. So it was still like this searching for something.
Did you find that piece though? That thing that bring him to me piece? What did he give you?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Because bring him to me, like that calling brought his name and who
Right.
he was, right? Within a week. We
Oh,
knew
yeah.
that answer to that. And then I went and essentially redid the ritual myself and lit the candle. And in that process of lighting the candle and grieving and being in the church, that shifted something. And I think that was the piece that came back, like the soul retrieval part, where that piece came back to me, to where I wasn't really given it, but I was calling it back instead of reaching and grasping for it.
So in a way, he didn't give you anything. You just found it yourself. Huh. That's wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I never saw him or spoke to him or anything.
So do you feel it was like more like a healing journey for yourself?
Yes, it was a healing journey, but like I said, that had repercussions in his life too. So it was like a healing for both of us. We both had to do our own part.
Not realizing it. You're living separate lives and doing your own part and then coming it's
Right.
again, it's so weird because one cannot exist without the other, but there is no actual communication between the two of you. It's so quantum. It's ridiculous. I think for people listening, I'm hearing myself go, people are not going to understand this unless they've actually encountered it because it's such a mind fuck. Even when you're in it and things are happening and things are moving along and you're literally seeing things manifest in real time that are leading to other things that make sense and they all just come together. Even if the outcome isn't what we thought it was going to be, it still had to happen. And I think that's the weird reality of it is that just the inquiry alone triggered something, some kind of healing. It triggered some kind of thing that had to happen. Do you think that this situation has anything to do with any of the rituals we did prior to that, even though we felt like our ritual was stunted and it got stunted and never really formed the way that it needed to? Do you feel like these are like offshoots of that?
You talking about Tennessee?
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's all connected because everything happens because of what happened before. So even though that ritual did not have the intended outcome or the outcome was shifted, that energy and the players that did come in were still there. We were working with Ellen and Bridget and Mary Magdalene. All of those energies were in those first rituals and they followed through the remainder. So I think that energetic thread was still there. It was just other pieces that were splintered off. So all of the energy that was needed wasn't there initially, and we had to bring in other people to accelerate the energy back to where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I feel like that. And just for people who don't know, we did a ritual in Tennessee out in the middle of nowhere, and it took us 4 years to figure it out. We're like, why didn't things happen the way they needed to? And we realized that it was hijacked. But it is so interesting though, because I've been for some reason I've been reading a lot about Bridget lately and also Ellen, and both of them are goddesses of changing timelines and moving portals and shifting. So it is on target for who we were working with.
I've been working with Bridget since 2014. So after I did those, I was talking about doing the rituals and the clearing and my husband getting idea to move the first time. That's when she initially showed up, was in that energy. It was actually at the same time I found you.
That's
Yeah, again, it's all connected.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're talking about Bridget. I was like, yeah, she's in my tattoo. And then,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. This all connects.
Huh. Okay. It's so strange how it all worked its way through. We did a ritual. When did we do a ritual in February? February 1st.
Is that when it was?
Yep. It was February 1st. So we'll see how that one lands, because that ritual was an extension of the ritual we did 4 years ago to course correct it, because it felt like it needed to move somewhere because it was stunted. The energy was just there. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why can't I get through this? And it's funny because the minute that we did that ritual on February 1st, I stopped thinking about it. It like just went somewhere. There was some kind of shift that happened. I don't know what that shift is yet. It's happening in a weird way. But
yes, I will attest to that. Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to land because I'm not in the liminal as much as I used to be. And it's not for any negative reason. I'm just not, which is interesting. Do you think more things would happen if we were more in the liminal?
Probably. Because it seems to pick up when we start doing different exercises and rituals. Because when you started the group, when you had the We Would Just Three podcast, things started picking up when we were meeting, however often we were meeting and doing exercises. And then with the Greg and Ops Liver stuff, again, we were in that space practicing and doing the techniques.
Yeah. And that takes me to what happened a couple weeks ago when I was doing I had an event where we did some CE5 stuff and we connected with some entities, and then all this stuff came about with the Sedona thing. We had this whole thing about Sedona like way back when. I can never figure out why Sedona, and then it showed up during this CE5 thing we did. And you know what's funny? Is I opted not to do it. It would be today, actually, strangely enough. The dude is in Sedona right now in Bell Rock. I don't know why I decided not to go. There was something about me I was like, and I know I messaged you all this crazy stuff because I was like, it's all happening exactly how it presented itself 4 or 5 years ago, like down to specifics. And normally I would be like, I gotta go. I gotta see what this is about. And this time I was like, hey, do you want to go? And you're like, nope, I got stuff to do. And then, you know what's funny is my mom called me 2 days later and said, hey, somebody in Arizona wants me to go visit. Do you want to go? And I actually had a house like 2.5 hours away from Sedona. All I had to do was drive there. And there was something about it where I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And I don't know why. Like the universe just handed it to me and said, are we doing this? And I was like, no, I don't want to. There's something about it where I'm like, it's completed. I don't need to complete it. What am I doing? If I go there and I do the thing, how is that going to change anything? How is that going to shift a thing? Am I getting closure? But I was like, I could get closure here. Am I opening another gateway to some other crazy that I don't want to deal with? Probably. Am I denying my destiny? Probably. But why would I go? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really have a desire to go to Sedona anymore either.
Yeah, whatever the intention was or whatever the drive was or the desperation was, as you say, it's not there anymore. I feel like the energy closed by itself. There's no closure that needs to happen. Again, it would be opening something up that I'm not interested in exploring anymore. And what is that about? Is that just upgrading and moving on, or is that
Just how we have evolved over the last few years. We've taken a step back from being in the liminal, really pushing and exploring those limits, because I think there's not a searching anymore. Like, we know what we can do, we know what we're capable of, we know what's there. If we want to talk to somebody or pull something down, we can, but we don't have to search and strive for it. So we can go on with our lives and then utilize it when we need to or when we want to.
that does make sense. I want to go back to the twin flame thing because I think it ties into that a little bit. I started this journey because I was like, I have to find my twin flame, this person, this situation, this thing. I went and did all this channeling and all these things about it, and it took me back exactly where I was. Even the same person. And that person is not my twin flame. Even though it presented itself that way, it was more like, you're learning the lesson. Why are we trying to run away from the lesson? Okay, you want to do this again? Sure. We're going to lead you right back to where you started. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was very angry about this. I was like, I went through this whole journey of self and healing and I ended up exactly back in the same situation, doing the exact same thing. And then a couple days ago, it hit me that maybe it's because you bypassed it, because you wanted the person that's going to fix it, the person that's going to heal you, the person that's going to complete you. And it's not about that. The completion is, like you said, inside. It's an internal job. It had nothing to do with this twin flame that I perceived. There were parts of me that needed to be healed and parts of me that needed to be let go of. And in order for me to be in that place, I needed to be with that person to figure it out. But I didn't want to hear that at the time because I thought it was with somebody else, a new person, a new thing. Not to say there weren't past life things that correlate with that, because there have been some things in the last couple months that I figured out that I'm like, okay, yeah, there is some energy there around this healing thing that involves other people and other situations, and it definitely, like you said, it has that. Without that person, these other things couldn't have happened. Like I said, that healing person, the person that got sick, that had to be let go of. But the only way I could let go of it is by figuring this other stuff out, so that he could tell me about the sickness, so I could tell him how to fix it. And that's literally what happened, psychically. I'm not a doctor, but and get him to the right people because my mom talked to him and got him to the right person. So it's like this weird thing, but I don't know. There's something to it. I'm not saying there's not the past life, the yearning that I had, the feeling that I had. There's something to it, but it's not. It's not an external person. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Especially since you have the twin flame universe and that is their whole focus. Right? That other person that has to be in your life. And you have to make all of these adjustments to get them.
And you don't. And see, that's the thing. I don't know. I remember us having conversations like 3 or 4 years ago about twin flames, it being this thing. And then now we talk about twin flames like, puh. Like, how do you feel about it going through this whole experience?
So I don't know if I ever bought fully into the twin flame story. I think there is some sort of energetic entanglement. But I don't know. I guess just my experience is different. I don't know how to explain it, because there is like this energetic yearning for that piece of you that you're looking for. And it's easy to look outside yourself because that's what everybody does. But like I said, until you experience it in you or something clicks, you don't get it. But that's all internal work. That's working through years of bullshit to get to the point where that can happen. And I think the twin flame story is a spiritual bypass to keep you from that place for a lot of people.
Do you think we were a spiritual bypassing in a way?
Probably. But at the same time, you don't know what you don't know. How do I want to say this? I think there's a spiritual evolution where you can only get to a certain point in any story or circumstance as far as your spiritual growth has gone, right? So you have to go to that next level in order to see that new answer. Does that make sense?
It
Or
does,
do I
yeah.
need to? Okay.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is, because as you start your spiritual journey, there is that seeking and that longing or that desire for power that you're going to get by being on this journey. And then once you get to a certain point, it's whatever. I don't care. So I think it's the same sort of thing. Like as you evolve and you go through these different processes, you get to the deeper layer and the deeper understanding. And that's what has happened with that. So that twin flame story has evolved to something different because we're seeing that I guess inner core, the inner layer that is now revealing itself.
Yeah, I think I think it's the understanding, and it has to be an understanding. It can't just
Right.
be a revelation that nobody can complete you. There's like nobody. It doesn't matter who they are. They could literally be you. They can't complete you. They're not gonna fix the wounds or the journey of self. It's just not gonna happen. I think it's more who and what you resonate with, and I think part of it, just listening to your story and some of the stuff that's happened to me, is that the only way that we can heal other people is if we heal ourselves, and it's like you said, it's I had to heal myself so this other person can heal themselves, and I feel that same way with the person that was sick. Years ago, I would not have the boundaries in order to not be enmeshed by the situation. Instead, I said, "I don't like the way you're treating me. I don't like the way you've ever treated me. I don't really care if you're sick or not. What the fuck do you want? Let me know what you want. We'll do it, and then I can move on." Then I was like, "I'm sorry this is happening to you, but it's your fault." And I literally said it that way. I said, "You're the one that created this, and I know you're the one that created this because I've been telling you this for 30 years. So what do you wanna do about it?" And I don't think I would have been able to have that sort of, "This is not my fucking problem" boundary years ago, and I don't think I would have been able to give him the right information because I would have wanted to save him or fix him or go there and make it happen for him, you know what I mean? So it came from a different place. And I just wonder if you feel that same way with the person that you're talking about. Would you have done it differently if you were in a different space?
Yes, I would have.
Do you feel like you
Yeah.
had the boundaries and the self? I don't know what it is. There's a core of self that happens. So you
No.
can look at it objectively.
No, I don't think I would have. Just because of drama that happened in this lifetime around that person, I would not have been in a place where I would have been able to process what was happening. I think would have been sucked into a lot of drama.
And instead you used it to further your growth and move somewhere else, like literally and figuratively,
Right.
like into this whole other journey of beekeeping. Just think it's and gardening and I just think it's so cool.
Yes.
It's so interesting how it all plays out.
Yeah. Yeah, because before I was like stressed and a government job that is like a narcissistic relationship, right? So it has completely changed my perspective on, I guess, living and making money too, because I was able to walk away from that and not feel bad either.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It does. So do you want to hear what happened?
Yes, I want to know what happened.
It's very weird. I'll give you the short version, but basically what happened was, so I went to the Abbey, right? And it was raining so hard. The day before it was sunny, the day after it was sunny. The day that I went, it was raining and I had no sleep because I got up at 5 in the morning. And I go there and I remember messaging and I'm saying, the earth is so alive right now because of the rain. And I was like, I never realized how much that area is alive. And I don't know how to explain it better than that, but the trees are alive. The energy is buzzing on that whole area. It's up in the mountains. I want to say it's a plateau, but I don't think it is. But it's up higher. And once you move up the hill into that, I guess it's a canyon or a plateau. I'm not sure. But anyway, once you get up there, especially with the rain, I don't know, maybe it was just the rain was like making it more strong, or maybe it was vibrating higher. But I went up there and I'm like, why have we never felt this before? This is really interesting. There was an aliveness here. The river was full again. And somebody told me that it hadn't been full in months. And the rain was filling it up again. And I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, because you went right as all of those rains were starting to come through the area.
Yeah. And I didn't think anybody was going to be up there because of the rain, but there was a lot of people up there. I went and I bought some acorn bread because they had acorn bread. And I thought that was interesting because I'm like, this is literally bread from the trees in the area. And I guess I asked the monk about it, and he told me that the person that does the cooking takes the acorns, grounds them, and then takes the tannins out of them through some kind of like transportation process, and then turns it into flour and makes this gluten-free, like unleavened acorn bread. And I was like, huh, that's so interesting that there's like this whole like transportation process that happens with this bread. So of course I bought it.
How was
And
it?
it was delicious and hearty, and it was like dense. I could only eat half of it. I gave the other half to my mom the other day, and she was like, this is like some of the most delicious bread I've ever eaten. It's sweet and it's really earthy. I'm like, I know, right? And they had this fennel cheese that goes perfectly with it. It's like sweet and savory. And I don't know, just the whole experience of that was like sensual in a way. So all that was good. And I went down and I burned my candle, and I wrote everything down on this piece of paper. And then of course I left the piece of paper in my car, and I'm like, I'll just have to burn that part later. But I went down into the crypt and lit the candle, and then I burned the paper here, and it wasn't anything like super exciting. And I'm like, this is not over. This is just the beginning. I have to go back. And I know that. There was something about it where like I just started something and I'm not even sure what I started kind of energy. And yeah. So that turned into like this whole thing. And I'm like, okay, why did I go there? I ended up having lunch with he who must not be named. And that was like a whole thing that it was exciting. And it was like, I was like, oh, like, I wish I had this part of my life back, but then I don't want the person. Like, so it was like this dichotomy of, I want this part, I want the conversation, I want the excitement, I want the back and forth, the person that can keep up with me, but I don't want it in you. So what do I do now? And I came home and I grieved this whole thing because it goes back to twin flames, because I was like, I thought that he literally has a twin flame tattooed on his body. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why am I being presented with this thing? And the whole time I just felt so, I don't know how to explain it. There was this sense of, who am I around this person? This is not good. There's so much coercion and manipulation in the process of this dynamic and seeing it from the outside and looking in and being like, yeah, I could never now. It's not the same. And I had to do some grieving around that because the person that I thought he was is not even close to the person that he is. And it took me a few days to figure that out. And going through why am I grieving this? And it's because the person that I had in my head the whole time was not the person standing in front of me. Yeah. But that's not the weird part. You want to hear the weird part? That that was just some kind of like, this is done. This is the ending. I don't want it to be the ending. I want the person that I have in my head, the person who he was in the first 6 months. I want that person. But that person doesn't really exist. That person was just a mirror of me so that I would be enmeshed in the situation. And that's something that I have to work through because why did I canonize him? So that's my own journey. But okay, here's where it gets weird. I go home and I'm supposed to do this reading for this person at the dome. So I go to the dome, and this is where we did the ritual, so I can do tarot readings there when I want to. So I have to do this tarot reading for this person. And she comes in, and there's something about her that I'm like, there's something off about this right off the bat. So I start to pull cards for her, and first off, I ask, are we asking about male or female? Because I'm getting female energy. And it's a female. I'm dating a female. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Let's pull some cards. So I'm pulling cards. 3 cards in, I'm like, who is the person that you're dating? I don't need a name, but do you know who they are? She's, yeah. And I'm like, so what's about them? Because there's something about them that I'm picking up on that I don't really, I don't know. There's something off about it. And she goes, I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, okay, why don't you want to tell me? She's like, it'll come up later, but that part of it I can't tell you. And so I'm starting to get movies and I'm starting to get like creative person. I'm like, oh, is this person famous or something? Or are they a celebrity? Because I'm seeing movies and I'm seeing entertainment. And she's, no, but that does make sense why you're picking up on that. And I'm like, okay. And then I start to look at it, and this looks an awful lot like my sister. Why am I reading my sister right now? Long story short, this is the girl that my sister's dating. And they didn't want to tell me. They didn't want to tell me because they wanted to see if I could figure it out. So we're 3 cards in, and I'm like, why does this feel so familiar? I never met this person. My sister has been very vague about this person. So I don't really know much about her. 5th card, we're 5 minutes in, and I go, okay, this person keeps coming up because they're really highly creative and the energy of this person is really strong. What sign are they? Can you just tell me their sign? And she goes, she's a Taurus. And I go, I literally looked at her and I said, are you dating my sister? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, why are you here? What is going on? So how does that tie in with the Abbey? Let me tell you. She lived in Tahlequah for 5 years. Guess where she works?
Where does she work?
She works at the university near the statue of the turtle. She teaches in the science building, which is really close to there. And she's one of the professors there, and she does work on eyeballs. And my dog had just gotten surgery like 2 days before that on her eyeball. And I was like, what? Because I told her, I said, oh, my dog just had surgery. I was in Tulsa. And she goes, funny thing, I was in Tulsa on the same day you were. Like, what? She's, yeah, I was just a few miles away from you because I work with the university there too. And then I was like, oh, I was in Tahlequah the other day. And she goes, yeah, I was in Tahlequah too. She's like, I was a few miles away from you. She's like, I knew you were in Tahlequah too because your sister told me. And I knew you were in Tulsa. We are literally circling each other. Like for a week before the reading, we had been circling each other. Going through all the places that me and you had been, because we went to Tulsa too
We
for
did.
for
Ghost tour.
a ghost tour. Yeah, and I was in that area, and it was just weird because she was near there because that's where the university is, and then she ended up near the turtle, and then I kept seeing turtles for 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, what's going on? And then she had the eyeball, and then she was like literally for that whole week, we had literally been in the same place like all week. And I asked my sister about it, and she said, yeah, it was uncanny because we were laughing about it because she said it almost felt like I was following her. And the weird part about that too is that I did give a reading to my sister like a month ago about this woman. And I said, there's something very cosmic about her. This is some divine timing shit or something. There's something more going on with this. So pay attention to this person. And it's funny because I didn't know that was her in the reading. And I said the same thing to her. And that's why it triggered me. Because I was like, there's something going on with this connection that's bigger than what you think it is. And then I was like, I've said this before. What's going on here? I was like, I don't know. I got really triggered. Yeah, it was very strange. Oh, and then the other part is so the whole reason, and this is something that was brought up in the other podcast, the whole reason why we ended up at the Abbey, me and who must not be named, the whole reason was because we were looking for this crystal that was in the ground. It was an amethyst crystal. It was in the ground. And they did some kind of ceremony every few years. And so we were looking for that place. And he was saying, the person that told him that it was near some abbey or some church or something like that. And so the only church that we found really close was the monk place, the abbey. Come to find out a few months ago, I found the real place, and it's actually a cult. And the cult does some kind of ceremony around some crystal every few years. And it's up in the mountains. It's actually the opposite direction of where we went. So we would have never been to the Abbey if not for this story. But I found the place. I haven't been there yet, but I found it. And there was like this whole story of them being satanic and they cannibals. And I'm like, okay, that's just bizarre. But anyway, I was telling this woman about the Abbey, and I said, you got to go there because she's never been there. And I said, the whole reason why I found the Abbey is because of this cult. And she goes, oh, the cult up in the mountains? I'm like, yeah, you know about the cult up in the mountains? She's like, yeah, I almost bought a house right there on the bottom of the mountain. And I heard there was a church up there, and I went up there and I talked to the cult people, and I was excited, and I almost bought the house there, but my realtor talked me out of it. And so I bought a house in Muskogee instead. I was like, what? And she's, yeah, the idea of living at the bottom of a hill near a cult was like really exciting to me. So I had to find out about it. And I was like, oh, when did this happen? And she's, yeah, in the last 6 months. Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right.
So was the place where the cult is that the place that we had talked about before?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that story totally ties to the Abbey. And
Right.
I don't know. It was like
Right.
this weird.
Yeah, that is really weird.
Yeah. And then my sister and her went on this like crazy date together. They actually flew out to California because they wanted to tour the Scientology building in LA.
Okay.
And so they went on the tour. And I was like, okay. And they're telling me how they want to start a cult now. And I was like, okay, cool. All right. And she was telling me during her reading that she was joking about, if I go to this date, maybe I can start a cult and maybe I could figure out the mechanics of it. My sister is reading Dianetics right now, hoping that she can find what
my.
she's looking for with this cult thing. But yeah, but I was a little stunted there for a minute because I'm like, what the heck is going on right now? I feel like I need to revisit the Abbey. And then this person is circling around me the whole time. And the person I don't even know. And ends up with my sister? How is it that like this whole love story is happening all around me? And then I'm talking to this person that I thought was my twin flame or close or something, and I can't fucking stand him. And he would have to like drastically change in order for me to want to be with him. And I met him and he promised me all of these things. And of course, he didn't follow through on any of them, which is expected. But I was like, what is the dynamic here? Because we have this like situation that was supposed to be this love of a lifetime. But then there's this other story happening around that in the same exact area. I was like, what are the chances? What's the dichotomy happening here? This is so interesting.
What did you start, Heather?
I don't think I did it this time.
No.
I don't think I did it this time. I think I just happened to be in the energy of it
Probably.
and picking up on it. But it's like with your situation with that other person. If we had not done all of these things, would these two people have gotten together? I don't know. Not that I'm taking credit for it, because I'm absolutely not. It's up to them to meet. But is there some kind of shift that changed things around?
When did they get together? Do you know?
A little over a month ago. So sometime in April.
Okay. Because I know you guys did those lives and stuff
Yeah,
on TikTok.
about a month ago.
So I was just wondering, maybe, I don't know, that energy. There's something about that energy with you and your sister would spending a lot of time together. So whether she's picking up on it or you're picking up on their energy, I don't know. It's really weird how that all intertwines.
Yeah, and what's weird too is they met on a dating app. It's the exact same story that happened with me and him, who must not be named. Like almost exactly. I haven't told my sister that part, but basically what happened with them is they were on the dating app, and my sister put in certain parameters because she didn't want to meet anybody that was outside of a certain amount of miles and a certain age. And she's 20 miles over that parameter, and she's a year younger. But for some reason, the app threw her in the algorithm. And so she messaged my sister, and my sister was like, "Oh, what the hell? It's only 20 miles." So she answered. And that's exactly what happened with me and what's his face. I was looking for a certain kind of person in a certain mileage, and he ended up in my algorithm and messaged me even though I told them that's not what I wanted. And he messaged me and I was like, "Oh, what the hell? I'll talk to them." And then he started talking about fairies and the Tuath Dananan and talking about aliens, and I was like, "Oh, there it is. There it is." And it was a very weird random conversation that had to do with a lot of other things that I was already spiraling on. So it's just there's like these similarities happening, but it's almost like the rebirth of the energy is happening, but in a different way with people that actually want to be together. Like, is this how it works when two people actually like each other?
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's weird though. That is so similar.
It also makes me wonder, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it makes me wonder if what I went through was a false flag because I was actually just picking up on what was going to happen years later. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, we talked about in the Gabby Petito podcast.
Yeah,
That has
exactly.
Yeah, same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's where you're picking up on something and you think it's meant for this one thing, but it's not. It's for this whole other situation that comes later, and it makes perfect sense. Yeah, so it makes me wonder if what I was experiencing was more like a false flag or it was a detour, a side quest. And I misread it because of this energy that was coming through for somebody else later on.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense. So if we were fully in a liminal state then, and we were getting a lot of information. So it makes sense for it to be jumbled like that.
Yeah. But then that makes me wonder, why did I have to go through that experience? Or why did I
Right.
choose to go through it? I didn't have to. I chose. And then that makes me think about the whole, like, what's the lesson there? Why am I repeating lessons? Why am I going through this process of something, still searching for something outside of myself that doesn't really exist? It's the overlay of the dream on the person.
Right.
Not exactly, because the way he presented things was very like, yes, I'm going to do this. So it's a two-way street with that one. But why did I believe the bullshit, I guess, is the question. Because I think I wanted the thing.
Yeah. And his energetic makeup, like his human design, is very similar to someone else's too. So I think there was a little bit of an overlay there.
Yeah, and there was just a lot of repeating the same stuff, which is. But what changed this time is I believed the bullshit for about 5 minutes, and then I remember messaging you guys, you and Leah, and going, I don't think I'm going to be around him. I think I'm going to block him, which I actually did.
Again.
Because I love the conversation and I want that. I want the conversation. I want the connection. I just don't think I like him. The package is wrong. Even though I was in the moment and in the thing and feeling very connected to him, there was a part of me that was rejecting it. And again, it took me a couple of days. It took me about 4 days to figure out what was going on. And then there was this grief that happened. Oh, this is never going to happen, ever. Why am I talking about it? Because it has to do with the Abbey. Because the person that's in the first podcast is the same person. And it's, oh, look, retroactively 4 years later. It's a bunch of bullshit. I don't know.
Yeah. He served his purpose, though, I guess. At
Did
the
he?
Abbey.
He
At the Abbey.
did, yes. He's very good at that kind of stuff. And he offered to fix my dream machine because it's broken right now. He offered to fix it. And I was going to go over there and have him fix it. And I canceled. And I said, I don't think I want you to be in this energy with me. I would love it if it was real, but I don't think it's real. And I can't do it. And he got really mad at me. And that's when I blocked him. But I didn't argue anything. He just stopped talking to me. And I was like, awesome. I finally got to him. That's great. How do you feel like this whole arc has changed you for the better or the worse?
That's a big question. Obviously, I've changed for the better. There has been a lot of positive shifts that have happened. A lot of perceptions that have changed for the better also. I don't think this is the end. I think that Abbey was just one little story. But I think it's still going, whatever is going on. Maybe that's just life and growth, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any answers. I don't have any words. Something shifted. Why we ended up there, why everything unfolded as it did, I don't know. What is the end game? We'll never know. But I guess it's fun to have that mystery and to see where it goes next.
Yeah.
And that's not really answering your question, I don't think, but
I think it is. It's a closing of a door, I think.
yes.
It's an end of an era.
Yeah. Maybe you pass the torch on from our experience with the Abbey onto your sister.
I feel like that, honestly. I feel like I went there to realize what a D-bag that person was and to stop being nostalgic about it and then going, okay, something better can happen. Something new can happen. I think lighting that candle, it's funny because before we went to lunch, he actually met me up at the Abbey so that we could go down the hill together because I was afraid because of the rain because it was really slippery. So he was there maybe 10 minutes. And I was lighting the candle when he was there. And I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed. I was like, I wish he could just leave so that I could do this candle the way that I need to do it. And like I said, I lost the paper and I found it in my car and I lit it here. And it was almost like the universe saying, it's a new beginning now. You're letting go of the old. You're making way for the new. You're passing on the torch. There's something else that's going to blossom out of this. And I had to burn the paper here for it to happen. Does that make sense? Like the intention needed to be here, not there with him. Because usually when he's around me, it makes the magic happen. And this time I was like, oh, go away. I don't need you. He was doing the exact opposite of what I needed him to do. A different experience completely, which is so interesting because the first time it's almost like we needed him to be there in order for the things to show up. I don't think that would be the case this time around. If we were to do any other rituals, we wouldn't need the masculine, strangely enough. And maybe that's the lesson. Because even with your friend, he didn't really do anything.
Right. Nothing at all.
I
Except
know,
for
right?
be annoying.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the lesson. Don't need to look outward. Don't need the masculine. Make friends with the masculine, but not need the masculine.
Except maybe to change light bulbs, climb up on ladders,
Right?
lift the heavy stuff.
Just not for anything important like ritual or liminal or healing or...
Right. All the internal stuff we can do ourselves without support.
And isn't it interesting that the energy moved to a lesbian couple? Just to further the theme. Anyway, is there anything else you want to say?
I don't know what else to say.
Do you feel like this part has been closed, like timeline has collapsed upon itself?
Yes. So actually, when we moved here, I felt like it had collapsed and I had actually gone back. I felt like it was a continuation of an earlier period. And then when we did the ritual in February, that kind of sealed everything up.
Wow.
And that sealed that, but it also started something new. I don't know what that is yet because I feel like we're still tying up some loose ends.
Yeah.
So to be continued.
To be continued, but also different. It's so different
Right.
now.
Yes. The next episode,
Yeah.
next series.
Yeah. It's fascinating how it all turns out. Yep. With that, this is the Abbey, and I guess everybody will see you on the flip side.
Thank you for listening to the NVus Alien Podcast. For show notes, go to the website www.nvusalien.com. All of the reference materials and mentions in this episode are linked there. If you want more witchy, paranormal, and fringe content, please subscribe to my Substack. Just search Heather Ashera, that's Heather Ashera, or check the link in the show notes. And as always, see you on the flip side.